Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode here at Shots Fired Podcasting with myself, KLW Hitman Pike. Guys, what an amazing episode we have lined up for you this evening. A lot of content, a lot of Battlefield discussion is going to be going down. Going to be joined this evening, guys, by the team over at Semper Fi, Honagai and Lolo representing, and of course, the big man himself, Mr. Deity. Guys, what is going on? Welcome to Shots Fired Podcasting. Thank you one and all for stopping by. And of course, we do have the man himself, Mr. Deadeye. Deadeye, of course, is CEO, founder of Hardcore League. Shots Fired Podcasting, of course, is the official news outlet podcast of the league. And this is your number one place to get all that news information. Things are kicking off at the moment in the community, guys. Not going to lie, we've got a lot to talk about. Before we do, I'm going to hand over to Lolo there. And how the devil are you this evening, my dude?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Excited to be here. So, yeah. It's a lot of stuff happening in the Battlefield community, as you said yourself. It's been really busy on Twitter and stuff, so...
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, it's great to have you, my dude. And, of course, Honagai representing Team Semper Fi as well. How are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you very much. I'm really excited to be here, and it's been a crazy week, to say the least. So, as said before, there's a lot to discuss about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've got quite a full episode, definitely. And, of course, Mr. Deity, how the devil are you this evening?
I'm actually fantastic, and for you people calling it evening, you're just strange and odd because it's just now noon my time. So, but how you guys doing? Yes, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about, and a lot of things that are happening. Everybody's got their opinions on some of the things that we're going to talk about. So, yeah, let's just see how this goes. I'm interested to see what the chat comes up with and the questions they come back and their input as well. So, and thank you very much for having me on the Shots Fired podcast. I really appreciate it.
Oh, dude, truly, it's an honour, as it always is when we get our guests on board. We thank them heartily for giving up their time to come and sort of discuss and share their passion with regards to the Battlefield series. Mr. Deadeye, how are you? All right, not this evening, because, of course, it is not evening for the Americans. It's currently midday. It's a balmy 7 o'clock here at the moment in the UK, so you'll have to forgive me. Dead, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I'm excited. I'm excited to hit on these topics that we're going to be covering today. You know, we've got a lot of exciting stuff, a lot of takes on it from different angles, and a lot of information we're going to be dropping today during the podcast, including something that I am very excited to let people know that we're going to be coming out with. I want to thank everybody for showing up. I'm seeing several people in chat here. We've got our boy Psychotic, Joshua, the lady of the hour, Buckshot Betty. We got QT Squared, our community manager, and one of our most prized staff members, Mr. Bosch. And Nick the Grizzly, one of our stream team members. So appreciate you guys showing up, and we're going to do some stuff. Also, Diablo in here as well.
All right, so we've got a pretty full chat there. Some big names joining us, and guys, that is appreciated. Of course, this is your opportunity to share your opinion on everything that is going on. We are going to be touching on those more tender topics this evening, hopefully in a sort of controlled manner, a way that is definitely objective and a way that helps us move forward as a community together. I know the guys here have definitely been putting the work in behind getting that sort of the train rolling behind RSP and where we're going to be headed in the near future. Of course, this is a pretty critical time for a lot of people out there, from the content creators to the esports leagues, to anyone and everyone that really has any sort of time invested in previous Battlefield fixtures. Everybody knows how important the feature RSP is to sort of the longevity of Battlefield, to the success of the game. And of course, that's going to translate into the amount of content that comes out of the game, and that's going to directly influence the amount of people that go out there and buy the game. So, you know, it's throughout this podcast, we hope to touch on a few points that put it to put it to the devs and put it to the wider community, why this is an important feature. We're also going to be discussing a number of things surrounding Battlefield esports. There's been a lot of discussion recently about the size of Battlefield esports and how we should limit it in certain ways, and there's been arguments back and forth in favour and discounting large-scale Battlefield esports. But for those of you that have known the league and followed our activities for many years, we have advocated one thing, and that is large-scale Battlefield esports. Hand it over to these guys for the time being. These guys really are the experts. That's why I've got them in here. But Deity, what's your sort of take on this whole situation right now, on just everything from the way it's sort of being discussed to the way it's been introduced to the community, that RSP isn't already in development? What are your thoughts?
Frankly, grim. Just kind of the way that I've been feeling over the last several months. Just to know that without being too negative on the entire deal, it's something that we actually really felt. I think most of us really felt was going to be incorporated into the next title in the franchise. We thought that as Battlefield 1 had re-envisioned what RSP looked like, which to be fair, I would say is totally fine in my book. I was skeptical at first at how that was going to work. More tools would have enhancements and tools that we used to have back in Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 would have been better. But all that said, we got nothing. We got nothing when this came out. We got nothing with the communication, and that has been unsettling for me specifically. I know that a lot of people have been waiting, and then we finally got our first hint at what and why, if and when, if ever, RSP might actually hit. And that particular message from the global community manager Dan Mitri was not exactly what I was hoping to hear.
No, I think there's a lot of people feeling that way at the moment. Perhaps the way it's been approached, definitely, I think in the past, one of the hallmarks of DICE is that they've worked with the community. We've seen features such as community test environment, and we've seen the EA Game Changer program. We've seen the DICE Friends, so they really do want to work with the community. Unfortunately, I think there's been a change of approach, and that's maybe got a few people's backs up, and that's unfortunate because right now we want to be sort of concentrating and looking to the future and applying ourselves in an objective manner, but without the information there, like a lot of people are just sort of struggling to see a future in Battlefield without said features. But from a team leader perspective, how's it affected Team Semper Fi there, Lolo?
I don't know. I mean, we've had a lot of servers for Battlefield 4. We had Battlefield 1 servers. We had a really buzzing community around it. At one time, surpassing 1,000 members on our Discord, and people actively playing with each other every single night because they could get support from admins from our community on those servers. And quite frankly, now when we're playing with a group, we have to work around everything to get everybody either in the same server or the same team. If there are hackers or cheaters, there's nothing that can be done. You can report someone, I mean, where? For most people, that's not even known. So, yeah, that kind of sucks. to say the least. I mean, Honor knows more about this as well.
So what are your thoughts, Honor?
I mean, right now we've got no RSP, and to summarize it a little bit, like Team Semper Fi is kind of gone quiet to sort of put it in perspective, because in the old days, as said before, with Battlefield 4, we were thriving. We had 5 servers. To put it in perspective, in Battlefield 1, we had, I believe, 3 or 4 at our top, maybe even 5. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lolo.
4.
I think 4 was our top. Despite our limits with the tools back then. And right now we've got none, and we've seen a decline in members in general, but also those who we know from the past have switched to different games. People are bored, people get frustrated, and Battlefield 5 just has changed the game. I mean, they said that it's never going to be the same. Well, they delivered on it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, they got it right.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a bit rough one, but yeah, I mean, in some ways they did. I mean, I appreciate the new Battlefield. I really do. I love the gunplay. I love the mechanics. There's a lot of things to love about it. I'm just worried. I think that's the best way to put it. I'm just worried.
Sure, and I think that encapsulates the sort of like the just where the community's at right now. We are just worried without this solid sense of direction, a time frame to sort of reference to. It's definitely over the last few weeks it's been rough. You know, it's definitely, I think, been one of the lowest points of morale that I've seen in sort of, you know, the 14 years of playing this game, but you know, hopefully, I think we've got to think positively, and at the end of the day, the track record of EA, DICE, the developers, especially the community managers, Dan, Jeff, those guys kill it when they listen to us. You know, they have just they kill it, and they also, they, you know, they really do lead the community in a very positive manner, and sort of, you know, they want, you know, they want that reflected back from the community, and the game does that anyway perfectly. And I've discussed it many times throughout the past sort of season 1 of Shots Fired podcasting. You know, the way the teamwork sort of develops, you know, your sort of interactions with other teams out there, with other communities, you know, the way we all interact together, it's just very reflective of the PTFO mentality of the game. And you know, I think, as I say, with Jeff and Dan leading the way, setting the example, you know, we do have to sort of like thank them and recognize that. And unfortunately, you know, these guys have been getting quite a lot of stick, and I know the developers, you know, like Jan's had to put up a post saying like, I'm nothing to do with RSP. I'm like, I develop a completely separate part of the game. And I think he compared it to, you know, you wouldn't speak to, you know, someone who mends boots to someone, you know, to complain about the quality of the bread. So it's, you know, you've got to be making sure you're making your arguments and you're approaching the right people. You know, everything's got to be informed. Do your research. We get that you're passionate. There's so many people out there right now. The passion is just, it's great to see as always, but we've got to make sure that we are not being counterproductive. We keep an objective air to our approach, and at the end of the day, we've got to recognize that these guys, they're human beings too, and you know, it's a wider sort of issue than just one or two people. So when we approach this, let's do it in the right way, and you know, really keep a positive vibe about this. But Deity will be going into how we'll be doing this specifically a little bit later on in the cast. But I'd be also quite interested to see, you know, hear from Deadeye's point of view. Now, I know Dead's got a little bit of a segment lined up for us shortly, but yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts currently about the situation in Battlefield, Deadeye?
Oh, I definitely have some input on RSP. I definitely want to echo what you just hit on when it comes to anybody watching this, whether live or the podcast. You know, I've had the pleasure to talk to both Dan and Jeff, and those guys are very community oriented and community driven, and they are the messengers for the most part. You know, so whenever they make a post, to come down on them for it is the wrong way to go about it. And also, to make sure I am all for expressing the need for RSP across the entire community. It doesn't just affect esports teams. It affects communities that run events. It affects content creators that create cinematics and videos. It affects the entire community, and I'm definitely not against expressing that as much as you want, as long as it's done in the right place and at the right time, you know. And as long as it's not derailing any further advancements they're trying to make on the game as far as fixing bugs and getting feedback for that. No doubt they're hearing us, but we've got to let them do their job and take it into account. And by no means am I saying that anybody should stop tweeting about the need for RSP. You know, we cannot let that die down. They know it, but we need to make sure that it's not something that's going to be forgotten or overlooked. And I think it will seriously damage the community if it's not released. I can also echo what Honor and Lolo said. You know, as one of the founders of the league, I get messages from teams all the time. Team leaders hitting me up, you know, and saying, "Hey, man, you know, do you have any updates on RSP? Our teams are struggling. We've got members leaving, you know." And for somebody like us, the hardcore league, it makes it nearly impossible to run official events. Now, our teams and our players are a testament to the Battlefield community. They're resilient. You know, they're putting together scrims. They're running scrims. We recently just opened up a scrim tracker on our website so that we can start trying to obtain stats from scrims and get a working history of scrims and things like that, so teams can still compete at just the lowest level possible. But as we push Battlefield esports, you know, a big part of that is having accurate stats and accurate records of wins and losses and where the teams are playing and how they're performing and things like that. And without Rent a Server, there's too many variables that we can't control, which make those stats not as accurate as they should be to be taken serious as an esport. So it definitely affects the esport community very, very hard, as we can't do anything, you know. And then the communities that do their events, even Friday Night Battlefield, an event that's, you know, put on by that was pushed by EA and DICE, they can't do their events like they used to. And teams can't go in and practice like they used to be able to do their map walkthroughs, get their tactics down as easy, because they don't have access to that, and it's a huge struggle. And so I think that, you know, not putting RSP in Battlefield is like not putting tanks or planes in it. I mean, it is one of the key features that has been a staple of Battlefield and the Battlefield community. The community wouldn't be where it is right now if it wasn't for the RSP feature. And you know, we asked for an update. We got the update. We may not like it, but you know, at the end of the day, the only real problem that I had with the update that we got on RSP was when it said the part about possibly not having RSP at all. To me, that is just ludicrous that option even floated across the table. You know, for that to come across, that I think that did more damage than anything else. Just the fact that they put it out there that it might not exist at all. I appreciate the honesty and the transparency, but I can't for the life of me imagine how that would have even been an option. So.
Sure, no, absolutely. Unfortunately, at some stage, someone has floated that as something that needs to be done. It's something that has just bamboozled the community beyond all belief, and like it's definitely got people worried. And we definitely need more information right now. The situation is not brilliant, but I think we are possibly, you know, we are going to, as time goes on, we are going to see more information come out from the community managers and the developers. So hopefully, looking forward to things. Things should pick up, because right now, I mean, the game is a solid build, and okay, there's a few bugs and fixes like with all new games, and that's going to happen. And you know, this day and age, games are just so incredibly complex. They take a heck of a lot of building time, manpower. So it's fair enough that on release, okay, on a 2-year cycle, there is definitely a very filled development process right there to get into that 2 years. But you know, we'll see a few fixes come out. So we're looking forward to the future there, Dad. I believe you've got some sort of statistics, facts, and various things to discuss with ourselves regarding various aspects, both I think including RSP and discussing specifically the player scales of Battlefield esports. So I'll hand over to you, my dude.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. So It is. It's common knowledge now. If you're familiar with the hardcore league, one of the things that our motto is play the game the way it was made, and one of the things that we push and endorse and strive for, and have been striving for since the inception of the hardcore league, is larger player count esports. Currently esports are 5v5, 6v6 on Overwatch. It doesn't get much higher than that, and by and large, a lot of people think that it's not feasible to support an esport with a higher player count. And due to that, over the years, I would first like to thank our naysayers, everybody that has told us that it's not a possibility. I am going to be releasing something in the very near future, so keep an eye on all the hardcore league outlets, the Twitter, the Facebook, jump in our Discord, the website, things like that. We're going to be releasing something that we put together, that is a direct result of what our naysayers have told us. We've been told for years that we can't do this, that it's not possible for one reason or another. And and every time we said, hey, you can't do it because of this. Here at the Hardcore League, we would say, okay, you want to bet? And we would figure out what all it took to get it done for one reason or another. Every time they come with us with a reason, whether it be player count, whether it be entertainment value, whether it be the money involved with it. And we have put together an extremely data-driven set of information that we are going to push out, that the entire community will have access to, that will not only show how feasible larger player count esports is, and I don't mean 32v32, we're talking 16v16, 12v12 minimum. Large player counts. Not only is it extremely feasible, but exactly how, why, and what will make it work. And on top of that, it also outlines why Battlefield has never gained traction in esports with its current setup of 5v5. Battlefield has tried esports multiple times in the past. There's been 2 previous times where it has been tried with adequate support and promotion, but it still hasn't ever gained traction. And in the video we're going to release, we're going to outline why it hasn't gained traction, what the problem is, and how we can fix it, and all the steps moving forward to fix it, from start to finish, with every rebuttal that we've ever come across on why we can't do it, covered, explained, and backed by data. So we're excited to release that. It is, in fact, I've been pushing large player count Battlefield since we started the league. And when I started compiling this data and putting it together, I was surprised myself at just the hard numbers that I found that backed what I already knew was possible. I was still surprised by the data that I was able to find, and that our staff was able to find, that backs what we have always said could be done. And I'm super excited for people to see it. So we'll be pushing that out pretty soon.
That sounds like it's definitely going to be a great opportunity for us to really just demonstrate why Battlefield esports is a sustainable thing, and it's certainly something that we look forward to bringing to you, the wider community. So Mr. Deity, I know you have a few plans for us looking forward to the immediate future on how we as a community can sort of move forward. I believe you have been called the unofficial mayor of Battlefield, so I'll hand it over to you, sir. Take it away.
Yeah, it's a little cheeky little thing that I was bestowed in a stream one day that I thought was kind of funny, but then it hit Twitter, and I thought that was it's interesting. I am certainly not anything like a mayor of Battlefield, but I am a super passionate community member, and specifically, for the last 5 years with Clan Angel of Death. Right now, I mean, we've got 711 players for Battlefield currently. So that and I'm only mentioning that to show you that's the size that some of these communities can get to. There are smaller communities, or there are larger communities, but I think one of the biggest parts is that without something like RSP, and I don't want to get too far off of any one particular path here, but we did lose some communities. We saw some just fall by the wayside during Battlefield 1 with limited abilities to do that stuff. And now with Battlefield 5, we continue to see that. AOD actually gets to grow in some ways because gravity is a factor. So when you're big and you're huge, you can attract other folks that are still wanting to play together. That's a symptom. That's just something that takes place. We're happy for it, but at the same time, it limits us in many ways, to include our ability to run events like we were talking. I think that I had mentioned too. This is a full community, meaning a full spectrum problem without having something like that, whether it's competitive or whether it's content creators, folks that are getting in there taking screenshots, trying to use the cinematics, trying to use the spectator mode and all of the fantastic things that they've added to that just to create great content. And then also communities who just want to run servers and have a home or run events. And that's something that we've absolutely 100% lost right now. We have zero ability to do any of that. But with all of that said, I guess I'd want to say, just back to your original point, when we address this, when I talk, when any of you guys talk to the community, when you hit Reddit, when you hit the forums, when you hit Twitter, anything on social, the way that you approach this type of thing, in my personal opinion, is that you keep the topic what I call wet. You don't let it die. You keep it wet. You don't let the paint dry. Right? We're not gonna walk away from this. We're not gonna give up on the fact that it's not there. Right? However, if you are extremely caustic with your responses, if you are violently approaching the subject with people, not just anybody, but specifically like as Pike mentioned, the devs. Not all those devs work on anything close to RSP, and many of them actually liked RSP. We've had devs that played with us on our servers before. They really enjoyed the different events that we had. But these folks are building a game, and that's not where their responsibilities lie. So make sure that your content and the context of what you're talking about is your opinion on whether it should or should not exist and the value of that. Because in my opinion, that's what I think is missing from the EA DICE side of this, is I feel like they have undervalued the greater community's just necessity. They look at Battlefield as one big community instead of lots of different micro communities and lots of different needs. And that's what we've lost here. So make sure that when you're talking about this, you're respectful about who you're talking to and what you're talking about, that you're not flaming them. That way it doesn't get cast aside. No one's going to listen to anybody if the first thing out of your mouth is you suck. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to make any roads. You're not going to make any mileage with that type of conversation. But expressing the needs and expressing how important these things and how valuable they are to you, hopefully will elevate the greater community value by elevating the micro communities that exist within Battlefield. So like I said, just to finish, put a pin in that, just make sure that when you're saying things, it comes with the context and with the respect of these are things that are valuable to us, and we are valuable people. We are the people who create. We are the people who create the community of Battlefield. You create the game. We play the game. We are your community. Listen to us.
Yeah, no, I think you've just hit on some absolutely fantastic points there, Mr. Deity. Realistically, if we want to get our way, guys, if we want to put our argument across, it's got to be in a clear, coherent, uniform manner. We've got to do this as if it's a political campaign, and put forward those statistics. We will be sharing them to you, as Dead mentioned, and hopefully off the back of that, we will be making ourselves more informed, and that will give RSP a better chance. So this is the way to do it, guys. We definitely need to come together, and this is the objective. So we just got to PTFO, do what we do. All right, so we do have a new chapter available, guys. Lightning Strikes has had an update. It was on the 28th. It's been interesting, actually, because there's been quite a number of fixes. I've played a little bit of Battlefield over the last couple of days. I played it quite intensively pre-patch, quite intensively post-patch, because I really wanted to get a feel for how the gameplay was gonna change up, and I have to say it was a lot smoother. They have added a lot of elements in. How have you guys been getting on sort of with the general sort of gameplay post-patch there over at Team Semper Fi?
Did you have time yet to do it, Honor?
Unfortunately, no, not really. I actually, this is my first day. I'm actually at home again. I can able to play the game again. All I can say right now is I'm really looking forward to Panzer Storm because they made a lot of changes to it. I mean, there's an entire page dedicated to Panzer Storm, and I am really curious about the bipod fixes.
I'm really curious about all the base camping tank sniping people.
Yeah, apparently it's going to be less brutal for infantry now. I personally love Panzerstorm. Now, I know for a lot of people out there, they were disappointed to see a wide open space map instead of them going for something a little bit more smaller. And but I fell in love with that map. I felt it definitely needed some work. The first version of it seemed a little bit empty. But I believe they've added in more fixtures. They've changed up the objectives slightly, and they've also changed up the spawns, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of people felt that the infantry were just pretty much fed to the tanks on that map, and they're probably not wrong. But I think if you PTFO with the right structured squad, then infantry can be absolutely devastating. Devastating.
It was possible. It was possible, but it was really hard. There were some flags where you would just walk on an open field, and yeah, just a single tank could line up and shoot you down.
I mean, what's your thoughts on that as a tactical map, as a competitive map? Do you think it's one that? I mean, obviously, I think from a shoutcaster's perspective, like Hamada was an incredibly hard map to shoutcast. It was very open, and it didn't allow for a very good sort of flow. There weren't as many clutch moments, and it was just generally, I think, that the objectives were too spread out. But, I think we could see a similar issue with Panzerstorm. But that said, obviously, it's going to be very much an armor-heavy map, and I think that would be an incredibly interesting. I would love to see a large-scale armor conflict, on the competitive scene. That's something that I believe we have touched on before, but it's been more 2 versus 2 sort of tank tournaments, going back to Battlefield 4. I think we did one in Battlefield 1 as well. But to see the 2 teams, 32 players go up against each other in a casual scrim, or 2 teams of 12 going up to 12 to 16 going up in a competitive scrim, that would be incredible. That right there, I think that would be interesting. So how do you guys think you'd approach that as a team?
Ooh,
that's a good one.
That's actually a good one. And especially we personally haven't really been busy with esports anymore for over a year. We're now more focused on the community side of things. But when I'm looking at Battlefield 5, which has, in my personal beliefs, more potential for esport than even Battlefield 1, because of how the things work, I do think that with the terrain changes made, and once again, I still have to play in the map itself. It should be possible, but I really would love to see a big tank battle. But if competitive on Panzerstorm were to happen, I do feel it may have to be 32 against 32. But the last time that has ever happened, and correct me if I'm wrong, was on a special event on Battlefield 4 with Europe versus North America, but I'm not sure.
That is correct. Yeah, as far as officially from the Hardcore League, anyhow, we did a 32v32 over on the PlayStation side of things. That was North America versus EU. Now we do run several 32v32 events, but as far as teams going head to head, our All-Star event is also a 32v32 event with the best players from the Hardcore League. So I imagine if RSP comes out and we get to that point, we will probably see that All-Star match taking place on a Panzerstorm will definitely be in that list.
Well, it has like 14 tank spawns now, right? That's in total?
Is that per team?
Sure.
No,
total, I believe. Yeah, so 8 per team.
Just imagine like 16 tanks or 20 tanks total, like 10 tanks versus 10 tanks on that map.
That would be epic.
I'm personally even more curious because we got the Stumke Schutzvier coming up, the Stuk 4. I don't know if it's already added. I think it should be, but that's officially a tank destroyer, and I'm really looking forward how that's gonna play out in general. And imagine a combination in competitive where you have a mix of a Tiger, Panther 4, the Stuk 4, and maybe eventually a Panther or whatever. And then on the British side, the Valentine, the Churchill. I think that could be really epic and really fun to watch.
Before we get too far into this, as to not neglect our chat, we have a couple of questions in here. One of these was for Deity, and it's from Psychotic. He said, "What's your thoughts if Dice does not release RSP, or if it comes out later this year? What are your thoughts on that, Deity?" And then we'll answer his other question.
Yeah, sure. And thank you for the question. In terms of not coming out, we'll push that aside for a minute. Coming out later on this year or even down the line, that's actually where we exist right now. So whatever happens with RSP, if it does happen, won't happen for a long time. Hopefully we'll have, it'd be really nice to have a one way or the other. And I hate to even say that because of just the fear of having the other as the answer, right? But if we did get an answer today that said, yes, we're going to give you RSP, if it happened right now, if they just made a big announcement, Dan Mitri blows it up, throws it all over Twitter, throws it all over Reddit and the forums and says, guess what, guys, RSP is coming. You can count on that sometime this summer, later, maybe the fall. If it's something that wasn't developed before, and if it wasn't integrated with the game as it's run up, as we all kind of thought it was going to happen, it is going to be a long process. Developing anything doesn't happen overnight. Doesn't take a month. Respecting what developers go through when they put together a game, and just knowing some of those really hard things to make work, especially when it wasn't originally integrated, is going to take a long time. So the answer to that is going to be, we will have already felt the impact. We will already seen, and we are going to see some communities fall off. We are seeing content creators and groups of content creators who are actually kind of going into hiatus status. We're already seeing that right now. We're seeing content creators who can no longer go in and test things for their specific videos that they're making. We're going to continue to see that. We're going to see, again, lots of smaller communities just kind of drop off and either just start playing as small groups of friends and squads, or maybe looking for a large organization with more people to play with. But at the end of the day, it's just going to be based on your 4-man squad list as opposed to an entire server to play on. And then again, competitive is going to suffer immensely until that comes out. I know that there's been a couple of scrims that have been casted here recently. That some of the feedback coming from that was that they had a lot of fun doing it. And it was, but it was also extremely difficult for those guys to get that going and to make that actually work. That in and of itself is enough to say, holy crap, I understand why some of these folks are going back to like Rainbow Six and some of these other games, because it's just easier for them to compete doing it that way. If it never comes, that's the bigger question. If it never comes, you can count on that probably being the way Battlefield will be for the foreseeable future. If they don't implement it in Battlefield 5, that's my opinion. I don't think that it'll ever come again. And I think that Battlefield will have, as Semper Fi guy said earlier, never be the same. Battlefield will never be the same without RSP. And at that stage, the community will never be the same. I said a while back that without respecting the micro communities and the different variations that they exist in, you undervalue them to the larger community. And without all of that stuff, we will never be the best that the best community in the world could ever be. And we'll lose some of that over that long period. So.
Awesome. Psychotic come in with another question. This is actually a really good question. And he says, your thoughts on why would DICE have a shoutcaster spectator mode and your Battlefield 5 towards faster paced esports, just to not put RSP in? Which is an excellent question, because the spectator mode that come with Battlefield 5 was one of the most refined that we've seen on launch for any of the Battlefield titles, in my opinion. It has so many more options. It's got 2 different settings on it and this is what I don't understand. Now I can answer via my speculation, no inside information, why I think they did that. But for the life of me, I can't answer why they have the 2 different modes in there. So you have a broadcast mode and you have a cinematic mode. so that so that content creators can create cinematics. I mean, you have a mode in spectator mode, setting just for cinematics, and then one for broadcasting, for shoutcasting. So on the shoutcasting side of it, and again, this is purely my speculation, as we don't have RSP, and they talked about not putting it on the table. The only way that competitive matches can be ran is with a private server that we can control who is in the match and who isn't. So that being said, the reason I think they would have spectator mode is because they plan on implementing an in-game server system, kind of like they have on Rainbow Six Siege, where you just queue up a server and you use it for a limited amount of time, and then you and when you're done with it, it just it goes back into the server queue. And again, that's just my speculation. I think with the tools that they have in place, that would be the only reason that they would do that. As far as the cinematic side of it, I have no idea. That is extremely confusing if they're not going to release RSP, where content creators can go in there and fit, and bring some of their actors and things like that into the server to stage scenes and do stuff like that. It is beyond me why those things were implemented with the possibility of RSP not being on the table. And to answer your last question, a lot of people are pushing for MMG bans and even SARs from comp. What are the thoughts on that for a 12v12 or 16v16 game mode? So again, here at the Hardcore League, we believe in playing the game the way it was made, and we really stand behind the game that EA and DICE has built, and it's rock, paper, scissors, and everything that you encounter on the battlefield has pretty much an equal and opposite counter to anything that you see, anything that you come across. There's something that can counter it. We understand that some guns are quote unquote easier to use, or what's often referred to as OP. Now, as somebody who runs support quite often, I personally, and I would say that I'm above average player. I do pretty decent on the battlefield. Anytime I step in there, I always have. I love Battlefield, and I've been playing first person shooters forever. So I mean, I'm not an underskilled player, but for me personally, I'm not a fan of the MMGs. I can't perform as well with the MMGs as I do the Brin or the KE7. So I think that's all a matter of opinion, really, as far as how OP those goods how OP those guns are, or how they impact any given game, depending on who's using them. I most of the time I can outgun people with MMGs with my Brin. So again, I think it's a matter of opinion. If it seems overwhelmingly broken, we will look at it. But as we've seen in the past, in the past, as we've done events and things like that, we've had people request for things to get banned for one reason or another, and 90% of the time they're like, oh, you've got to ban this gun because it's too OP. Everybody's going to use it. In the 1,400 plus competitive matches that we've ran, we have never had a match, despite not banning any weapons, any gadgets, anything. We've never had a match where the majority of one team was rolling one weapon. I've never seen that. I've never seen that come across the board. So it would take some overwhelming information and uproar for a gun to be banned here at the Hardcore League, because again, especially in larger player count situations, because that expands the maps. There's more area for people to operate in. Which is why it's so difficult for 5v5 to make a push, because you do have to go in and you have to alter weapons and mess with the balancing to mitigate the small map size and the close quarter stuff, where these guns aren't necessarily applicable in a 5v5 situation. So again, to answer it shortly, it would take a lot for us to ban a gun from Battlefield competitively, just because that's not our MO.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just to touch on that, every decision we make, guys, as well, we try to make it as informed as possible based on facts and stats. Deadeye, the Battlefield analytics team, and the rest of the staff do go away and rationalize the decisions being made, and we can back this up with evidence, and we will be. So keep an eye out, guys, because as I say, the hlteams.com team portal is a fantastic place to keep appraised of all the information that we've got coming up, guys, as well. We run, of course, there's the Shots Fired podcast, but there's also the articles that we upload. There's going to be a monthly blog as well. So we're going to have a lot of content on that team portal for you guys to keep up to date with. Again, it's going to be the opportunity to showcase the community. You guys out there really encapsulate those oh my days moments and drop those bombs as much as possible. So realistically, I think we've got a great setup right now. We've got a great approach. You guys are, you've got some fantastic questions coming out there, and we pretty much have we got any more questions to answer there, Dad?
I've got one for Deadeye, actually, after his speech.
Yeah, hit me with it.
Yeah, so I just want to be just clear. I understand what you were saying, and with your response, and my thoughts, at least in terms of Battlefield in general, and doing scrims or esports, and for the future of all of that is, I don't know a whole lot of games that are played that are different than the game that anybody else can purchase off the shelf and play today. I can't think of a single one, and I've challenged people before to show me a game that has esports attached to their name currently that is not the organic game that every single person that buys and plays that game gets to play. That the esports part of that just happens to be the best of the cream of the crop, the ones that rise to the top. Not to quote Everlast, but I guess I just quoted Everlast from House of Pain. But the question that I have is, you said that you wouldn't ban certain things, that wouldn't be your MO. However, I do know from past events that you've run, you have always been sympathetic to and interested in running your scrims and your matches based on what the teams involved do agree upon. Would you do bans, or would you do certain changes still in the future if both teams or the teams that you have competing in a certain area would say, you know what, MMGs, we just don't want them on the field. We want to play a game without those. That's how we'd like to compete with this other team, and both teams agree. Would you still provide that to them?
Yes, we actually have outlets for that, and again, if there was an overwhelming outcry for something to be banned, we at the league would seriously consider it and look into it. And additionally, it would be very limited,
Okay, so just
again, if you start. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to go down a path where we start banning stuff, because once you start doing that, then it comes in and people just start banning things like crazy. And then there's really going to take away from the rock, paper, scissors that Battlefield is known for, like I was talking about earlier, the counters for different things. But if there was an overwhelming outcry for it, we most certainly would. And then we have what you're talking about, which is a gentleman's agreement. So the way the Hardcore League is set up, and we will be set up when we do get the ability to run official matches, is we'll have a qualifying season, which will put teams into different divisions, and they will play in the ranked season. The ranked season will be a lot stricter than what we'll have is the open season as well. So the ranked season will be, the cream of the crop, and the people that have been placed in divisions that have played in the qualifying tournament, and we know where they stand as far as skill. The open season is going to be for teams. It's going to be kind of like their playground, their practice ground, where they can schedule matches that will have different player counts, different game modes, different maps, things like that. And in the open season, we are a lot more lenient. So, in previous open seasons, we've had teams come in and say that they want to, that both teams agree that this shouldn't be used or that shouldn't be used, or we shouldn't do this or we shouldn't do that. And we allow the teams to do that and play it that way. But again, going back to the bans, it will start to take away from the base game itself and what Battlefield is. Again, if somebody can provide us with data, we are very data driven. If they can provide us with data expressing why a weapon, for example, is not conducive of competitive Battlefield, then we will take a hard look at it, and we will get feedback from our team leaders and from our teams, and take a hard look at it.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a great answer. That's just what I was trying to get to. Is the you'd still support a match. It may not be emblematic of what you do as a league, tournament style, bracket style, but you would certainly entertain teams that wanted to play those gentlemen's type things, and the larger banning piece aside, that you'd still do that and you'd still cast those. And just for my point, just to make it clear. I was saying that today, right now, and anybody can do your best to try to correct me, and I will probably prove you wrong, that there is just no esports game currently in existence that is playing at that level that is different in any major way than someone else can just go purchase it off the shelf right now and play it. Team size, maps, modes, whatever that is. Bans aside, the games itself that are in esports are played the way that they were meant to be played, the same way anybody else can play them, which is something very different than what Battlefield's ever done, which is something that Deadeye is actually and Hardcore League has actually done quite an awesome job at showing that the size of those games are quite small. And that was the point that everybody's always made, except no one's really considered that Battlefield was meant to be played with a ton of people, with lots of weapons, huge maps, planes, tanks, you name it. And so to do something different and inorganic, that was my point. You won't find a game in esports that does that. And we haven't seen Battlefield succeed in esports, in probably because of.
And I can confirm that is 100% true. There is not one other game out there that deviates from the game. Basically, what it boils down to is what you see on the esports main stage is the same game that the viewers are going to go home and play. They're not going to play a different version of the game they're watching their favorite esports teams play. And to expand on the bans just a little bit more before we move on. Another thing that I have been thinking about and I've seen other esports do is the potential of letting the teams prior to a match say, give them one weapon that they could choose not to be used during a match, kind of like Rainbow Six Siege does with operators. They allow the team to ban one offensive and defensive operator. That's something we may explore and evolve it to a point where, well, every single team always bans these two weapons every single time. Then that would give us hard data that these two weapons are not approved. But, I would be pissed if I was competing and somebody said, oh, you can't use the Brin because that does too much damage. That's my best gun, and it's got a lower rate of fire. So there's challenges with each gun. So again, it's something that we will most certainly be looking at when we get there.
All right, so looking forward to the future, guys. We're going to be definitely hunkering down and coming together as one. Talking to the guys over at Team Semper Fi, it would just be interesting to find a little bit out about you guys, your history, what your background is here, because obviously you're one of the main protagonists at the moment and sort of what really leading the charge on RSP, and often that is very much representative of Team Semper Fi. Well, whenabouts did you guys start? Where did you guys come from?
That's actually quite interesting story, as we originally had a different name. We started in 2014 under the name One Operators, which was in Battlefield 4, where we started with a single Metro server, and eventually we changed names. I don't really remember when. I think it was 2015 or 16. Where we changed into the community which we are today, and still with Battlefield 4 servers, and eventually to Battlefield 1. And what we do is just basically be a micro community, as many communities out there, or even clans, where we just want to provide a nice experience for the player with servers, which we cannot do in Battlefield 5 right now. But yeah, people just really love to play, to come together, to have fun, and yeah, they just stick around. It's actually hard to explain. It's just one happy family. That's what we are right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it is like a family. Yeah.
that's quite a long time that you guys have been rolling together. I mean, obviously, communities definitely in the past have found it hard on occasions to stick together. But what do you say is the best sort of way of maintaining longevity for your community?
Use the at everyone at here tag on Discord a lot. No, I mean we've got like the regular small group of people that'll just stick to the community anyway. There were a lot of people that were just member of the community, but not like actually a member of the community.
And the one thing that kept many around, I mean, we still have a lot of people from back from 2014, is being able to offer pretty much a home. You know, people come back from work, from school, from whatever what they've been doing throughout the day, and they just know that they can go on Discord or TeamSpeak back in the day, and go on our server, and people would be there. You would see regulars, you would see the same people pretty much every day, and hop on voice, have a nice chat, have fun, play the game together, play the objective as the way it's meant to, or do just really silly stuff in the servers. It was just a nice place to relax, and that's what kept people coming back over and over. They knew they would have a good time, no stress, just good fun, and they knew what to expect. And because of that, people, you know, got interested. They want to be part of that family, and that's how we kept around for so many years. And it's an experience we still want to provide, and servers are a major portion of that. But now with Battlefield 1, we took a beating, and with Battlefield 5, it's going to be worse. But people still stick around because everyone knows each other, everyone speaks with each other, and they just want to have that moment where they can be themselves. And that's the best part of all. They can be themselves because it doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, what your job is, what your background is. You can just enjoy. It really doesn't matter, and that's the best part of everything. You've got people from all over the world. Despite that we were founded in Europe, we still have people who came from South Africa. We had people coming from New Zealand. We had people coming from North
Mm-hmm.
America. It didn't matter. I mean, we even got contact with you guys from all the way in North America, where even despite being our own micro community, we were one big family, and we could also contact all other communities, and that's what keep people coming back to us, but also to AOD, for example, Hardcore League, the esports in general, the Battlefield in general. And yeah, to leap a little bit forward, that's in all fairness at risk right now. I mean, we don't know how long we can hold up, how long we can last if this keeps going. We all love Battlefield, but we do see that people are losing interest in the game, and therefore interest in the community. And yeah, that's why we started this whole "Where's our RSP" thing.
Yeah.
I think
That
you guys just touched on some absolutely fantastic points there, and a lot of those mantras I've seen pushed by, you know, other teams out there, and that really is what separates us and makes us the best community in the world. You know, Battlefield, it breaks down barriers. People don't care what political affiliation you are, what color your skin is, what sexuality you are. You know, it's when the bullets are flying and when your squad's PTFOing, you know, you guys are just concentrating on the objectives, and all that silly division just drifts away. And that is truly what they need to. That's why this game is so special, and why we need to preserve it for future generations, because it has such a positive impact. You know, I've been a member of this community for almost 2 decades. It's just scary now, and it's influenced me growing up. From my mid-teens to now as a 30-year-old, you know, I still take a lot from this game, and I know I am not the only one by any stretch of the imagination. So guys, you know, we've got to fight like we've never fought before, but we've got to do it right. And you know, these guys, a lot of them have raised some great points this evening, and I really want you guys to sort of take that and spread it throughout the rest of the community. People do look to ourselves, there's people out there in the chat who, you guys, you're very influential. You might not necessarily even realize that you have influence. So, it's just be careful about how we're all approaching this. We'll do this together as one community, just like it's a game of conquest.
It's been crazy for us at Team Semper Fi.
Because we had a stupid idea.
Yeah, it all started. I mean, if we can elaborate a little bit on where's our RSP, I don't know, movement, what it is right now.
I think it's turning into a movement. Yeah,
it kind of feels like it. So January 1st this year, we decided to just start with a statement, and it got picked up, which was odd because we're not that big even. And we followed with a couple of screenshots from Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. We even went back to Battlefield Bad Company 2 to just show that, hey, this is what RSP/third-party hosting does. It keeps old games alive. You can even go on Battlefield 2 today. You can anyone. You can log in right now to Battlefield 2, and you will be able to find servers with actual players on it. We actually held an event on Battlefield 2 a few months back because people still play it, which is ridiculous because it went officially offline in 2014. And
real quick, sorry to step on you. I just want to point out you can actually still play 1942 Desert Combat. Just FYI.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going all the way back.
Yeah. I mean, I lost my 1942 disc, and I'm really sad about it.
I got mine signed by Lars. Lars signed mine.
Now I'm jealous.
You should be. Mr. Battlefield signed my 1942 discs, so yeah, you should be. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, but I wanted to throw out there that you can go all the way back, like you're saying, and play those games still with those servers, with communities putting servers on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know for how many people it goes. I mean, it goes for DD at least, and Pike. I mean, for me myself, I was like a 10-year-old when I started with 1942, and here we are today. I'm 26. I'm still playing, and it's just crazy how this, because the Battlefield community always has been like this. This one big family. If I compare the Battlefield community to any other community, this community as a whole. I mean, we call ourselves the best community in the world. We're so different. We're less toxic. We're more like a family. Despite that, we got esports, we got micro communities, we got people wanting a lot of different things. But once we really want it as a community, we're just one. And that's where we started with where is our RSP. We had sent out a message to just asking if there were community leaders, managers, doesn't matter, interested in going into a meeting with us right after we had the news on RSP from Dan Mitri now like a week ago. And people turned up, which was already amazing to begin with. And now we're a week down the line, and we've got this special Discord with, I believe, 60 people in there, like 40 communities being represented right now.
Yeah, 67 people and 5 different communities and leagues and esports teams. People are just like sending each other the invite to join it. I mean, the fact that it's growing so fast in such a short time just kind of says it all, right?
It does. And to touch something that has been said a couple of times already, at this place we also try to steer a bit how we approach things. I mean, we want to be one big community, but we also want to be respectful, and we want to be well-mannered and do it in a constructive and fair way. And we have seen people on Twitter, as mentioned before, like going on an aggressive way towards the devs, and please don't do that. Please. I mean, we're one family, and be nice. Treat others as you want to be treated. And if you want to reach our goal, we have to be respectful and well-mannered, because otherwise you'll only receive like more toxicity, and they have no reason to listen to us. So I just want to emphasize a little bit on that again, to be nice, be constructive, and use the proper ways to make your point. You can be critical, you show your criticism, but do it at the right time.
Yeah, some people just wanna see the world burn. I guess I think with every single chance they get. So we can do better than that.
Yep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd just like to touch on T-Dow Mags there coming in with I play in HL. Pretty sure the lack of RSP in Battlefield 5 will kill HL League. They ruined HL. Deadeye, have you got any? Dead, have you got any sort of rebuttal for that? I get it. People are worried.
Yes. People are most certainly worried. It most certainly to the short answer to that is it most certainly will not kill or ruin the hardcore league. That one of our biggest claims to fame is being knocked flat on our face and getting back up. We get knocked down 7 times, we get up 8. That is what has kept us going, and that is one of the reasons why we are still here. We fought through no RSP at the beginning of Battlefield 1 and then very limited resources and tools when RSP did come out. We figured out ways around it and figured out ways to hold official competitive matches where only our competitive players were getting in before they came out with password protected servers. The hardcore league is very resilient, and we make sure to work every angle that we possibly have to ensure that our community has some place to compete, and nothing has changed. Even in these dark times where RSP is possibly not a thing, we are still working as many angles as possible, and there's still options on the table for the hardcore league to continue to operate in one form or another. Worst case scenario, let's say that we have to jump backwards and cover previous titles or cover different titles altogether. The hardcore league will not go away. Now, those two things are last resort options. We always want to be moving forward and covering Battlefield 5. And I can agree, with most everybody in here that Battlefield 5 is by far one of the best Battlefield games that has come out as far as gameplay and just the way that it plays. There are a couple of maps that I might not agree with as far as a competitive setting, but by and large, from an overall perspective, the game is geared to be competitive. So it's like EA bought me a Lamborghini and said, "Oh, isn't this beautiful? It looks amazing. This thing is fast, but we're not going to give you any gas, so you can just sit there and look at it. You can't go anywhere with it, but you can look at it. It sure is pretty, but it ain't leaving the driveway right now." And that's kind of where we're sitting, when we're doing everything we can. We're getting ready to try to go to the neighbors and siphon some gas out of theirs to get this thing moving.
Well, guys, that pretty much rounds up our RSP discussion right there. As I say, we have the Knights of Valor fighting the good fight. Guys, get on board with the movement. Be part of the progressive Battlefield community. Let's all come together now and PTFO like we have never PTFO'd before. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you are fighting for your right to party in Battlefield. No less. No more. So guys, thank you very much for joining us. This has been our final episode of Shots Fired Podcasting Season 1. We will be coming out with some news over the next few weeks with regards to a release date for Season 2. Season 2 is going to be coming back, and it is going to be hitting you guys very hard. We've got a lot of content. We're going to be changing things up. We've got some incredible guests lined up. And again, it's going to be all about showcasing you guys, the community. You are our passion here at the Hardcore League and Shots Fired Podcasting. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for stopping by. We are going to be sending you over to one of our friends. Let's just take a look who we've got on at the moment.
I say we send him over to one of the devs. He's currently playing.
Sounds good.
He's currently playing Anthem. And I'll go ahead and I'll put the command in there. This is going to be Jeff Nord. Yep. Oh, Jeff
Just
Nord.
Before we do, Dad, sorry to interrupt you. I'm just going to roll the IBS. Because I think there's going to be people out there that do have irritable bowel blueberry syndrome. Check it out.
Playing with IBS has always been a struggle of mine. But I'm not alone. Thousands of Battlefield players just like me suffer from irritable blueberry syndrome. But there is hope.
Hardcore League is a major advancement in the treatment of irritable blueberry syndrome and reduces the likelihood of encountering PTFO inhibitors. When compared to other PTFO therapies, Hardcore League has been proven to help players live significantly longer without IBS flare-ups or growth.
Hardcore League changed what I thought was possible for IBS treatment.
Ask your doctor about once daily Hardcore League and visit hardcoreleague.co for more information. Hardcore League may cause serious side effects, including elation. The most common side effects are lack of sleep, extended gaming, trouble stopping, newfound love of the game, excessive fun, and advanced PTFO.
Do it.
All right, guys. Again, we appreciate you showing up. We are going to send you over to Jeff Nord. He's one of the developers over at Battlefield, and him and his team worked on the prolong. Awesome guy. Myself and Dee, I know I had the honor of meeting him in Sweden. So jump over there, let him know that the Hardcore League sent you, and give him some love, and also check out the new Anthem game. Y'all have a good one.